Hey Beehive, it's Ken Lawson, Renaissance Man, and this is going to be a whole story of the Dixie Chicks and Beyonce doing daddy lessons on the CMAs. Um, I did a lot of research before I watched it because I wanted to know the context of the CMA's performance, and that ended up being about a 2 hour deep dive into articles and background and all of that on the entire thing, and it is worth knowing all the facts behind it. Let's go ahead and get into it because it is an incredibly interesting story and one that should be known for the amount of small-mindedness that occurred during it, and for the magnanimity, I guess is the right word, of Beyonce in the way she approached the entire thing, not knowing that it was going to have this huge backlash. Um, anyway, so let's go ahead and get into it as far as how this came about. Um, I'm going to be putting on glasses because I made some notes. Okay, so Robert Deaton was the executive producer of the CMAs, and he had the idea because he had listened to Lemonade and heard Daddy Lessons and went, "Holy crap, this is just Texas country," and thought that it would be really cool to go ahead and include it into the CMAs that year. So he got in touch with Beyonce's team and pitched it to her for them to do it. And she basically said, "Yeah, that would be great, but I only want to do it if I can bring the chicks along to do it with me." Because the Dixie Chicks, well, the chicks at this point, had been doing a cover of Daddy Lessons for a very long time at that point, and they had been doing it as part of their acoustic show and had even had the drum set fashioned to make the same sound and all that was on the actual Daddy Lessons recording. So Beyonce was aware of that and was a fan of them doing the cover. So she really wanted to involve them. And I would imagine it also had something to do with the fact that it was an all women group, or, the sisters and all that. And I think a couple of them were sisters and then there were others. But anyway, the fact that they had basically been blackballed for expressing what I felt were very valid comments around the time. Um, the way they expressed them may not have been as popular, but I thought that it was valid. But they basically got blackballed by country music, which can tend to be a bit on the narrow-minded side as far as, purists wanting it to be one thing and not have it intruded upon, or, not express the ideals that they want it to express. Now, this is just my opinion of country music in that way. I like a lot of country music. I grew up with country music as well as everything else. So there was a bias right up front. And this was not announced that they were going to be doing this. As a matter of fact, nobody other than those involved knew that this performance was going to happen until it actually came up and basically started. No one in the audience knew. Well, I can't say no one because I'm sure some people in the audience knew, but it wasn't a wide thing. And the people involved in the rehearsals were also told, don't announce this or talk to anybody about it. It was basically like an NDA. So this is what happened was, they went ahead and got this together. The Dixie Chicks, Natalie Maines, I think is her name, was a huge fan of Lemonade and watched the visual album, I think she said 100 times, and, would show it to other people in the band. And so that's how they got started doing Daddy Lessons. And so she was a huge fan of Lemonade. And so when Beyonce got in touch with them, they're like, well, hell yeah. Of course we will. So they rearranged their schedule to make sure they could do it. So now at the time, of course, they had been, like I said, kind of blackballed and had not been back to the CMAs, I don't think, since they had their huge Grammy wins or the huge wins for their album early on. And so this was going to be tricky. But they went ahead and agreed on it. And then Beyonce also got in touch with, let me find who it is, Too Many Zoos. A couple of people from Too Many Zoos who had actually played on the Lemonade album on Daddy Lessons, and had also, I think the trumpet player had played on Formation. I think they had played a little bit here and there on the album. But anyway, she got in touch with them, and they were not a big band. They were a small band that Blue had actually really liked. And they had been playing Subways and things like this. And, they weren't big. But she called, and they said that they would come and do the show as well. So they had a week of rehearsals, pretty much full day rehearsals for about a week to 10 days, I think they said. During this, all the people involved in the rehearsals were very glowing of the way they spoke of Beyonce, because apparently when she showed up, she had a vision of what she wanted it to be. And it was, as usual, a very precise vision that Beyonce had thought through. So they said that when she showed up, she knew everybody's name and greeted them all by name. So she was just her usual prepared self. And it meant a lot to all of them, because, the guys from Too Many Zoos and the people from Dixie Chicks, she just knew everybody's name. And she had some people from her band, or that had played on Lemonade and things like that, and I think people from her band and all. But they rehearsed because she had it in mind what she wanted, and they were all working to her vision. And one of the guys, I think, that was working with the CMAs made a comment that I thought was one of the highest compliments you could give her. He said that she is one of the highest functioning people he's ever met. And it's because of her whole vision for the lighting, the stage setup, the choreography, the entire thing, and how it would all come about. And they were all bought in. So everybody, and I'm doing a very short summary of this, by the way. There's a whole lot of facts, and I'm going to include a link to the article that I read that went through this in detail and with all the names and everything. So feel free to peruse that if this interests you, because it is an extremely well-written article. I read 2 or 3 different ones. Well, probably 4 or 5, but some were better than others. So anyway, at this point, they've been doing rehearsals for a week, and nobody knows that they're going to be playing it. And of course, the CMAs have been not very open to black artists over the years. They've had a few that get in, but let's face it, it's been not very open to black artists at all. And so when they got ready to come on for the show, obviously the reception was mixed. Mixed to the point that some people, of course, are very open to country music having influences come in from everywhere, or artists coming in from everywhere. But then you have the purists who are like, no, country music is this, and that is what it's going to stay as long as we have a say in it. So they were not happy about Beyonce being up on that stage, or probably the Dixie Chicks, the Chicks, because of, the stigma that had grown around them. So there was a mix in the audience. Apparently, Alan Jackson just stood up and walked out mid-song, right from the front row, and there were visible faces in the audience, apparently, that were not happy that they were up there. A person writing about it after the show even said that he heard one woman yell, "Get that black bitch off the stage." So that gives you an idea of what they were dealing with. But they were also one of the only entirely live acts on that night. And it was because of Beyonce's commitment to what they were doing and the buy-in of all the musicians around her. So I'm going to put up a picture of the drum set that they used for this, because it was the same one that they used basically for the tour, or, you know, for the cover songs that the Dixie Chicks were doing, and was what was used basically on the album. So very accurate, but it's really interesting. So anyway, they do the show and do an amazing job that will probably, after all of this is blown over, go down as one of the great, you know, performances on the CMAs. And it went the way it went. Some people loved it. Some people probably didn't want to show that they loved it, even though they did. And it just became a thing. Now, the CMAs have welcomed other influences in over the years. I mean, Shania Twain was basically hair metal mixed with country and won all these things and was, you know, in the CMAs. And it just all depends. But of course, you know, there's a race thing involved too. So Hootie from, I forgot his name, but the guy from Hootie and the Blowfish, you know, he broke into country, and I'll have to look into how his album did. But anyway, so she goes through all this, and then of course all the stuff comes out online of how horrible it was that the CMAs included them in this. They actually took her video down off of their channel for a short time, because there was a lot of backlash to them removing it, because there were a lot of people that didn't want it on there. So we're talking, you know, a whole lot of closed-mindedness and racism and everything involved in these decisions. But what did come out of it that was good was, this is apparently, and she's never explicitly said so, but in inference from a lot of things that she said, this is what spurred the idea for Cowboy Carter, and her really wanting to look into all kinds of country music and all that. And the thing to keep in mind too is that she's from Texas. She grew up hearing country, and just like everybody else, and the Chicks were from Texas. I'll get into, after the video, a little bit of my views on some of that. But for now, let's go ahead and get to Cowboy Carter, because all of this is relevant to this video. This video is a much more important thing than just a quick CMA performance, to me. I think it says a lot about the approach and the mindset of certain parts of the recording industry. Of course, country came from black artists early on, is what influenced country to become what it ended up being, by white artists taking black roots and then it becoming country, and then those white artists being pushed to the forefront, while the black artists ended up not getting copyright and things like that for what their music was. So a lot of them ended up screwed over. And although, you know, over time, it has made some of the black artists come to the forefront of being recognized that may not have been, had their music not been basically, you know, repurposed by white people. It has brought some of those artists to the, you know, to more attention than they would have gotten had that not happened. It doesn't make it right, but it is a consequence that came from that. I don't know how many people would have ever heard of Robert Johnson or some of the really early black artists, had it not been for like Cream covering Crossroads, and then people looking into where Crossroads came from. So it was not the best of situations for how it all came about, but in some ways it did bring a focus back to those artists that may have never been recognized otherwise because radio stations weren't playing them. And so that's just kind of how it went. Okay. So anyway, what it came down to was, now it's gotten that being snubbed by the CMAs in the reception made Beyonce feel unwelcome. And that unwelcomeness also made her delve into country music a little bit more and want to look into those roots and things like that. And that's where Cowboy Carter eventually came from. Now she does Cowboy Carter, which has a whole lot of country influence, country artists. And then when it comes to time for the CMAs to do their albums and all that, Cowboy Carter gets just passed over for the entire thing. So once again, being shunned by the country music hierarchy. And even if some country artists come out and say they enjoy it, and then you've got other artists that are being allowed in, like Post Malone and these other people, and yet Beyonce gets snubbed again. Really crappy treatment from the country music establishment and purists, because music is an evolving thing. And rock music was rock music, and then people started bringing in symphony with it, and all these other forms. And so music should always be evolving, in my opinion, but I will get into that after the video. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and jump into the performance. And now that I know all the context behind it, I think I actually will appreciate it even more. And hopefully anybody who didn't know all of this, and keep in mind, I was condensing it way down. I know I read a whole bunch about it. So if you're putting things in the comments, it's really just for people who are reading the comments, because I did a really deep dive into this. So let's go ahead and get into this and see how it goes. And this had to be hard, recording, doing this performance up there, seeing the reaction of some of the people in the audience. But I really like that she did everything that she did with it. Okay. Hold on a second, guys. I want to go to the other version of this and see if it's got better sound. There we go. Oh, so there's still the Dixie Chicks at this point.
Texas. Texas.
Boy, they look great, the Dixie Chicks here.
Daddy's little girl. Daddy made a soldier out of me.
I like that a lot of the audience, though, is into this. Boy, she sounds great. Ooh, got the banjo going. How great is that? I got a chill right then. The Dixie Chicks doing backups for her. And that's the guy from Too Many Zoos. See, at least some of them are singing along. Now, see, what's interesting is the people singing along in the audience are probably perfectly fine and love the album. They just don't want it to be involved with their country thing, which is a shame. You know, just be open to everybody. Come on. I love that she opened it up for them to sing lead there. That was nice. Woo. He taught me to be strong. He told me when he's gone, here's what to do. When trouble comes to town, he'll likely come around. Oh, daddy, that's you. I like that she's mixing it up. And they had worked on every aspect of this staging. Ooh, nice.
He wasn't always right, but he said, girl, it's your second to me.
Ooh, she sounds great singing this.
He always played it cool. Daddy was no fool. Right before he died, he said, remember.
Boy, every time they show the audience, you got the people that are into it, and then you got these all non-smiling faces of just not happy about it at all. And you know what? It is what it is, right? But in a way, I kind of like those people being unhappy about it because it's happening whether they like it or not. And just as the industry for them had changed, whether they liked it or not. And eventually it becomes accepted by the younger people that are coming in, you know, or that are part of that. But I don't like it for Beyonce and the Dixie Chicks. Boy, the Dixie chick on the left, that one, it looks amazing. I love the dress design and all. Which I think this whole thing is done in a very classy way. Ooh. I gotta run that back because I talked over them singing that little part. Now keep in mind, when I'm talking, I don't hear myself in here that much. I hear mostly just all the music. But still, you all didn't hear that part. I want to hear it. Great choice there. That's an order, y'all. Woo! Nice little baritone sax. Probably the biggest thing these guys had ever done. Well, there you go. And then you got the guy looking around like, what are they clapping for? He doesn't look happy. Wow, I love them highlighting all the different instruments for this. Hold on, guys. I got to check my camera, make sure I'm not running out of time. It's a good thing I checked when I did. I was down to only 3 minutes left, and I think we got at least that much of the song left. All right, let me back it up a little bit, and we'll go in 3, 2, 1. I love this arrangement. This is beautiful. And it's a great eclectic mix on stage as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of them that started off not liking it ended up warming to it over this performance. Ooh, her voice sounds really good here. Ooh, chill. I've always loved the Dixie Chicks harmonies. My ex-wife was really into country, so I got into a couple of Dixie Chicks albums. There we go. Look at, thank you guys. Well, that's a pretty raucous ovation there. So I like that.
Here's a two-time Super Bowl.
Wow. All right, guys. So that was Daddy Lessons, and I actually thought it was an amazing performance. It's a shame that so much controversy came up around it. But you know, there's people always going to bitch about something, right? My thoughts on the whole thing, just a quick little, I'm not going to go into it too much about music appropriation or, you know, all of that, because I have my views, you have yours, and neither one of them is right or wrong. It's just our views. Definitely let's try to keep the comments nice, you know, down there. You know my views on it now, and feel free to express yours, but please don't cut and paste anything about all of this, okay? Because I hate cut and paste comments from where someone just puts like 9 paragraphs about something that they had written that they post on every single, you know, Daddy Lessons CMA performance thing. So let's just hear what you feel. All right. And I will see you soon. I did shoot Proud Mary earlier, the Tina Turner tribute. So I am working on getting that edited as well. So I will see you guys soon. You have a great day, great night, great life. Bye.